And Amanda, thank you. Oh, she has the braid in still. It's so pretty. Amanda, thank you so much for being on tonight. I'm so excited for everybody. I know some people already know you on here, but you guys, Amanda, it's such an honor to hear from her because she is also in the top 100 of the company. She finished in the top 100 for Portugal this year. And she has just so many accolades. She went Emerald in like 12 months. Her and I joined just about a month apart, went Emerald just about a month and apart. She is, because she's in Canada, she actually is an international bonus pool earner and founder in Canada on both her husband's and her account. And she can kind of explain more about what that means. It's a really big deal. And she's also been a Canada Silver Star earner for both her and her husband's account. So she is a boss at duplication and creating silvers. And she is one of the top recruiters in Canada. If you look at the leaderboard every week, you will see Amanda there multiple times every month. But the thing of that is there's going to be a million people at the top of the company that Chelsea and I don't necessarily, well, I shouldn't say a million people, but there are probably people that we would not ask to be on a call. And Amanda is one that we both were in unanimous agreement because she just leads with her faith and her heart, and she's doing this the right way. And that's always somebody that we want to have on these calls pouring into us. And so Amanda, thank you so much for being here. And I'm so excited to hear from you. She's going to be talking to us just a little bit about some of the things that have really blown up her business, some of the things that they are doing that are working really, really well. Some of the things that she utilizes to make duplication and systems a little bit easier for her team. She's really good at keeping it simple. What she's doing is working well. She's a very high recruiter, doing awesome with her team, getting her husband's account really close to Emerald and shooting for Sapphire herself. And we kind of started to run toward our goals together. And it's just been awesome working with her. I've already learned a lot from her. So I'm just going to let her take it away. But Amanda, thank you so much for being here.
Here we go. Like, how unmute. Awesome. It's so nice to see all of you and all of the babies here. I have 4 kids. I'm all about family, so I love seeing all the babies. So yeah, my name's Amanda. I'm from Canada. And I just want to start by first just talking about kind of like how I came into Plexus, I guess. It's not the typical way. So I actually signed up for the business directly when my products came on my doorstep. I did the pink drink post and my grandma was like, "What are you taking, babe?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I didn't say that. I was like, "What am I taking? What does this do?" I'm glad it wasn't some crazy, like hardcore bad drug for me. I didn't even look into it. I was just like, I can make $700, baby. Like, sign me up. I'm a stay-at-home mom and you told me I can make that. I'm going to sign up. So I started sharing without a health story. So I feel like that's a misconception by a lot of people, like, oh my gosh, I need to have a health story and then I'll share, or it's not good enough. To this day, I feel like my health story is pretty average. I mean, I was just like a tired mom. Like, my biggest thing is my eczema photo. I'm so glad I have that. But like, seriously, I just have a pretty normal story. And I actually went gold in 6 weeks with next to 0 results, other than that I wasn't bloating and I was pooping. And so you don't need to have a glamorous health story. Your customers do not need to have a crazy health story to share either. So you can just like check that one off. That's like a relief maybe. The other thing I wanted to mention is coming into Plexus. I want to explain how I came in, because I feel like it's so easy. You can go check my Facebook. I did a post on this the other day, yesterday. It's so easy to look at somebody and think, oh my gosh, they have it all put together. Like, I could never be like that, you know, like they have better influence, or, you know, they this, that, whatever, right? Like, I don't have that, or whatever. I came into Plexus with extremely high anxiety, to the point that I would be like, I actually, 2 weeks before I joined Plexus, it was a God thing that I even saw that post that had me sign up. I deactivated my entire Facebook account because my anxiety was so high, I couldn't even sustain any degree of social media. So I had no Facebook account. I'd go through cycles of that where like, I can't, and I deactivate it. I couldn't make a graphic. I had no idea how to run a Zoom. I'd never done a network marketing company. I had nothing really for me, you guys. I had no like close friends, because I was like in the midst of like, my kids are between 2 and 7, 4 of them. And so I really didn't have anything that I could have been like, yes, like I can just do this real fast, you know, at all. But I still did Emerald in 12 months. And so I want to talk about that a little bit. It's not because I was special. It's not because XYZ. I made it work for me. And I learned, right? I was coachable, and I was, everything is figure outable, right? If you can't figure it out, go find something. And then the other thing is business ownership. So I want to use an analogy about this. And this is something that every single month I show up like I own my damn business, whether or not my team is showing up. Because you show up, and then either your team will show up with you, or you're going to just go find a new team. As soon as you start waiting for your team, that's when trouble happens. So consistency and hard work. So I want to use an analogy because I love analogies. But, before we had a house, like we rented, right? So when you're renting, there's a couple things with renting. Okay. So like, think of this as your business. Are you a renter or are you an owner? Just something to think about, right? And you could be like a half renter and half owner. Like, so it's getting to the point where you fully own that house. You're not like in the middle. So renting, there's a couple of things. For one, you have to get permission before you paint walls, before you do anything to that house. Same with your business. If you're renting your business and not owning it, you're going to be going to your upline and like trying to get permission for everything, when really, you guys, this is your business and you get to bring the flavor to it. So when you own your house, I remember when I love red. I'm a red personality. I like the color. I like the lip color. I like red. Okay. When we moved into my first house that we bought, I painted that wall red, like not just red, like bright red. And I was so excited. It was mine. I could bring the color to it. I didn't have to ask anyone for permission. I painted that wall red unapologetically. And so when you own your business or your house, you get to do things and create things and bring your own flavor to it without feeling like you're always like asking permission, because the world needs you and they need your flavor. And then the other thing with renting is maintenance. Okay. So when you're renting, you're not going to do maintenance. That's your landlord's job. Okay. So if you're owning your house and you never did any maintenance, you would have your deck falling apart, like whatever, the water tank's going to go and you didn't maintain it. And now your house is falling apart, right? Same thing with your customer care. If you treat it like it's yours and it's your business, your house, you're going to take care of it. You're going to maintain it well and not be just waiting for someone else to hopefully fix that hot water tank, because nobody ain't going to fix that hot water tank. And then your house is going to fall apart. So the maintenance. And then the other thing is also just your investment. So when I was renting, they'd usually be like, okay, do you want a 6-month lease? Do you want a 12-month lease? Right? You're like committing for short periods of time. Okay. So a decision is when you cut off all other options, all other avenues. If you're committing to 6 to 12 months, you guys, that is not a decision. You are not cutting off all avenues. You're half in, you're half out. Let's see if this works. Let's try it out for this much time. Whereas when you go and amateurize a mortgage for what is it, maybe 35 years, you're like invested. That is your house till you maybe even die. You're like, I'm going to pay this off and my grandkids are going to live here. Maybe not. No, but yeah, so that's the analogy. And so I have always showed up. Part of my success is like, I own my business. I never waited for permission. And I started at gold level doing coaching calls. I didn't wait until I was an emerald, because guess what? You go emerald by doing coaching calls or you won't ever get there. So don't wait until you're a certain rank to do the emerald things, because by doing the things now, you will get to emerald, right? I was just looking at the successful people and I'm like, well, that's what people should be doing, right? If you're going to have a successful business, that's what you should be doing. I have notes so I don't forget anything. One more thing about that before I'm going to go into systems, don't worry. The analogy of the train station. So I'm going to actually talk about, and I know Kim has like her story with her husband's Emerald account. Whoa. Okay. Wow. So mine, it was looking pretty stark on the 28th. So this was last July. It was my year anniversary. My 2-year was last month. I woke up and I made the decision. I cut off all avenues. I made the decision to go Emerald that month because that was the cutoff for Hawaii and it was my anniversary and I wanted it. Made the decision. My team was not all of them, Briar's here. She's like, hey, I was there. Briar was there. Most were camping and off grid, which God bless them. I'm not like, that's their choice, right? I don't own them. That's their business. It's totally up to them how they're going to use their time. So it was just very quiet. And I woke up on the 28th and I had 1,086 points in my back office with a team that was just like checked out. And I was like, we got a hell of a lot of orders to do. And this is what we got to do. So I made a countdown chat. I put I think it was 84 orders or something like that. And I was like, we better get to work. I got a nanny. I had her come here and watch my kids. And I literally booked a hotel and I went there with my husband. He had one computer. I had one computer. And I just created momentum. I was like, people are going to hop on the train. So it's like, you have a train, it's going, you're driving the train. Okay. Everyone's going to hop on. And I was kind of like, you know what? You can either stay and have train food at the train station that's really hard and gross, or you can hop on and get some money and maybe go to Hawaii next year. This train is going with or without you. People that want it will get on. I don't sit and wait. I'll vision cast, but I will never sit and wait and wait and wait until I'm like a skull, right? And so constantly, I'm going to talk about recruiting. I'm a high recruiter, bringing in new momentum. It gets momentum going through your whole team. And so that's what we did. We went to, I think it was 15:35 on the 31st. It happened. We even had a few hours to spare. And so be a momentum creator. Don't wait for it. Don't wait. And it's like, why is it not happening? The thing I always like to ask myself is, if my team did exactly what I do every single day in my business, where would my business be? That might be like a gut punch. It's like, right? You're like, oh, my team's so dead. And they're like, oh my gosh, I've signed up one person and I haven't done my IP every day. And you cannot expect your team to do more than you're doing. And so just, that's a good self-check question I always ask myself. Every single day is if my team was doing what I was doing right now in my business, where would my points be? So I don't, I'm pretty direct. You can ask Briar. I don't like to beat around the bush. It's just true. Okay. So one second here. I'm gonna make sure I'm not missing anything. I want to bring this up too, because I know there's a lot of you that are faith-based as well. God has a huge part of my business, but there's always the acting with the faith, right? It's like, where was God? And he stepped up for Kim when her husband went Emerald, but you got to walk the walk, and then he fills in the gaps that you can't do, because I know that I've had that help and that buffering where I'm like, there is no way Amanda could have done any of that. I don't even know what the hell just happened, right? You're just like, how did that even just happen? But I do know I did what I could do, and that was amplified. But unless you're moving and you're doing what you need to do, it's not going to just happen by a miracle. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to go into some systems. So I asked Kim and she's like, oh, so I shared with her something called boards. Some of you might know it, some of you might not. We started using this system maybe a year ago, actually, and it's been a game changer for my team. It's duplicatable. So if you don't know it or you don't know what it is, I'm going to show you what the app looks like. You will not be rude if you look down. I'm not judging. You can download it right now. It's the white one. It's just called Boards. Game changer, you guys. So I hope I'm not a broken record for anyone that does know what Boards is. I'm just going to be very brief with it. I know Kim's going to go into a lot of it in more detail. Basically, you download the app and it's like Trello, but it goes to your keyboard. And so you can create any boards. You can create photo albums, verbiage, folders. I have one board with lots of folders, so it's just one board. And it all goes to your keyboard. And this is my favorite part about duplicatable is you can share a link And if someone else has the app, they click the link and type their email and it's on their keyboard too. So yeah, game changer. So I have this pinned to the top of my business page. It makes it really easy as far as systems. I always, of course, encourage authenticity, right? Like we want to be authentic, but it is nice to have things in one spot. So like, I'll just show you really quick here, kind of what it would look like. And again, Kim will go through, like, don't be like, oh my gosh, like she went so fast. What do I do? So you'd see on mine, it's different on an Android, or yeah, I have an iPhone on an Android, but so it's this globe and then health and happiness givers. And then I'm going to click product info. Oops. And then info sheets. All the info sheets are here. So if I want this one, I click it, it's inputted into here and I just send it. So it's literally in your keyboard. If I have a sale, I'll drop that in for my team. I can share my verbiage I use for signups. It's like the same thing for every single person. I could sign somebody up in my sleep. So I'm happy to share that with Kim after, and then you don't have to be like writing down while I'm reading it today. That sounds stressful. Boards is a game changer though. So that is that. The other thing, sorry, I should really like read the comments. The other thing that I use a lot, I always say that facts tell and stories sell, right? So of course we know, like, share a story, you know. When I'm signing people up, I personally will share a story before product information, because I feel like that emotionally connects with them. And from there, I do get my green personalities where like they want to know more. And I'm like, perfect. But to be honest, this is just me. I would say 80% that get a relatable story are like, what products, like, what do I need? Sign me up. Because they're like, and I use a video. I don't use written stories. So I have a messenger chat full of like 2-minute videos. You can search by keyword in the chat and I just forward a relatable video that they'll relate to. I try and find the same demographic. Like, I'm not going to send like a menopause or empty nester to like a young mom, you know, I don't care if the story is the same. They're just gonna be like, you know, so I send a relatable video. I forward it from that chat to the person. And I know Kim does the same thing. So when I start the conversation, I send a leaky gut graphic, because I know when I started and my sponsor was like, what do you want to work on? I was like, oh, I'm so healthy. I was like, I sometimes bloat, you know, like we're a healthy family. I was so cocky. I was just like, no, I'm on no medications. And now I look back, I'm like, wow, I felt like crap, you know, or there's things where I thought were normal that really were not. And so it gets their brain going. So send the leaky gut graphic. And then from there, I can like, okay. And then I'll send a relatable video and I can send the verbiage in between that. And so that's what I do. And then I'm going to share what I use as far as like what our team is using in Canada right now. But I just want to say, like, there's no one way, you know, an event's an event. So I feel like however you're doing it or your team's doing it, it's just what works for your people. And so like, even in my team, you know, like sometimes we switch it up and we do it like a messenger event or, you know, something else instead, because they just don't want to go to whatever we're doing, and that's totally fine. And so what we're using right now in Canada is sip and shares. And so they're live, they're 20 minutes on Zoom. They're twice a week. And there's like maybe 3 minutes of product information in between 4 health stories, like 2 health stories, product info, 2 health stories. They're extremely effective, but what we do is we do a limited offer at the end. We get these through Corporate Canada, but they get a $25 promotional code that's good for 30 days and then it expires. And so they have incentive to come if people just want free stuff. So if you have an event and you're not giving something free, there's less people that want to come, right? They want something free. And so that's what we're really using and utilizing. And it's been extremely effective for silver development because simple, you guys, like, if it's not simple enough to fit on a napkin, I don't know, were you out of line? Brooke Hemingway did this. She's like, if your system is beyond a napkin, like you fold it into one of those like triangle diamond things. It's too complicated. Like if you just signed up today and somebody was like, okay, first we do this, and it was like this like elongated system, there would be like, I'm out. Like that's too much, right? And so whatever it is, keep it simple. I really don't like to switch things up or systems like crazy on my team because it is confusing. But again, I always try and work with the potentials. And if they need a messenger event, we're doing a messenger event or a video chat or whatever it is. And then the other thing I want to talk about as well, I think the biggest question I've gotten is like, how do you get business builders? There's a lot of things like that's a whole other night and I don't want to take too much of your time. But the biggest thing with business builders, or I'll have people like, they're like, oh, I'm like so nervous to talk about the business. For me, it's really natural, just in the sense, like I said, I came in for the business. We were struggling. We were living paycheck to paycheck, 4 kids. It changed my life financially more than my health. And so when I see somebody that is struggling, right, or I know could have a much better life, I can't hold it in. I want it for them. And so when you stop making it about yourself and your numbers and like, oh my gosh, I have to build a silver for success steps or like whatever, right? Like, oh, I want to go to gold school. As soon as you just take your damn self out of it and start focusing on them and how this can change their life, okay, you're not going to have a lot of business builders because this is about them and it's not about you. And you're going to feel so slimy trying to get people to duplicate if deep down you're doing it for yourself, right? That's where people are like, I just feel really uncomfortable talking about the money too fast. I don't know. I don't want to rub them off the wrong way. Sister, if you're trying to help them become financially free, how is that uncomfortable? There's like, I would be uncomfortable not sharing the opportunity. Everybody needs it. And if it's a no, it's a no, right? No is never final. I've had people that said no to the business. I keep a relationship with them and trust. And then something happens in their life, just like Kim, and then they're ready, right? So it's not like it's just never. But as soon as you just love on people well, and you're there to really help them and empathize with them, like, look, I used to be in that situation and I want to help you. People will feel that. So there's that on the business builder side. I think that's all that I have for you today. I think I wrote it all down. I was like, I know I'm gonna get nervous and I don't want to forget anything. I guess if there's any questions, like how do you normally do this?
Yeah, we'll definitely open up for questions. It was so good. Actually, as you were on here, I was pulling up, you are like definitely the queen of simplicity. And it's so funny because as you said, like it's confusing when you're constantly changing things like on your team page or whatever. That used to be me in my previous network marketing business. Like I was constantly trying to figure out what everybody else was doing to be successful because I was doing all of the things and it was never equating to very much of a result. And so I just felt like I had to keep changing it. I had to keep trying new things. And there is something to be said, right, for social media changes. And sometimes we need to be willing to try a new event or a new, but that's something very different than like literally continually changing it. It is confusing for people. And when you're constantly changing the verbiage and like my invite is literally the same as it was when I started. That's so interesting when I asked you, I'm like, okay, you're on the leaderboard every week. Like I have something to learn from all of these other people on the leaderboard and everybody that's even not. So like, what are you doing? And it was so shocking that your system was so similar, but my team knows we were not doing video ones. And as you talked to me about that, like we've started our own chat and was going to start live with that in September because it is much more powerful than just a copy a screenshot. And that's not to say like, I mean, I got all the way to double emerald with screenshots of stories, right? Like, so like it works, but it's just cool. And like, that's what you said too, is the big takeaway is that it just matters that you're doing it. It's not about finding the perfect solution. Well, maybe I'm not getting a result because I'm not doing the right messenger event or I'm not like, is just do it. But you had this message that I want to read to the team since we've been going back and forth about random things. And you said there was a girl, you had done your thing with her, and she said, thank you, I'll check it out. My mat leave just ended. Oh, maternity leave. Sorry. I was like, what is that, a Canadian term? Okay, maternity leave just ended. So I'm budgeting, LOL. So you guys, that's literally all she said is this girl, like Amanda did her thing. And then she's like, oh, maternity leave ended. So I've got a budget. And Amanda said, and I quote, sounds great with a heart. This would be perfect timing. You would actually make about $500 Canadian cash just for doing this with free friends and can have some buffer room coming in. I have 4 kiddos and this has been amazing to have on the side to do from home with them. That is all she said, you guys. In that, she overcame a financial objection. She offered a solution to a problem and she already shared the business. And we're talking that was 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences. I've always looked up to Chelsea for her ability to be so concise and probably short amount of words. And Amanda is so good at that. That is not my gifting. And I'm learning from her and getting better slowly in dribs and drabs at doing that in a more concise and powerful way. And that is powerful. And literally the next message from this girl, I don't even know if anybody can see this, but it literally says, how do I do this? That was it. So again, it's just thinking about like being bold about sharing the business. Amanda was not about herself. It was, hey, this girl wants to do this, but she's on a budget. This is what I can share as a solution to that problem. And I even am going to share how that really helped me too, just being home with my little ones. She just related, so powerful, so short, and look at immediately that objection was overcome. Amanda, this was so good. I definitely do want to open it up for questions to anybody that has, and I really love how you pointed out at the very beginning that you do not have to have a stellar health story. I've actually heard that from a couple prospective business builders, or people even on my team lately, like, hey, well, I don't have a story like yours. And the interesting thing is I might've seemingly had some overnight success with the products, but I've been in the very same place the last 2 years. And in fact, my health has gone backwards a couple of times. I'm back in all kinds of doctors right now. So like, it is just a thing. And I think some of my girls struggle with that too. Like, did the product stop working? But it's not really the end all be all. This is a piece of the puzzle. And also I love you just saying like you got rid of bloating and you were pooping more regularly. And that's such a good reminder for our people coming in that when they tell us like, oh, in our weekly check-ins that we're doing for customer care, I'm a little bit less bloated, that we're not waiting for a bigger story to encourage them to share. But wow, that would be life-changing for some people. If we get excited about it and show them that that's incredible, they're more apt to be excited and think it's worth sharing. I have learned that over the last couple of months. I was not really bold about that in the first month with people. And I have been blown away that they pick up on my excitement. And that is just a really, really powerful thing to share, that you got to gold in 6 weeks from just pooping more and less bloating. I mean, that was a great reminder. So thank you for sharing that.
And the other thing is like, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody's chapter 40. I will find the screenshots and send them to Kim so she can send it to your group chat. Guys, my invites to events, I am not kidding you, used to be 2 screenshots long.
Me too.
I talked about the immune system in it. I talked about where the serotonin comes from. And I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I got to go like this. And I also feel like they didn't even have to come to the sip and share or to the whatever, because they literally got it. So just keep doing it messy. It's better.
Absolutely. Does anybody have a question while we've got Amanda on here?
Amanda, I'll ask. And first, just thank you so much for sharing. This was all so good tonight. When you do your twice a month sip and shares, are you streaming those live into your Facebook group, your potentials page?
So we actually don't have potentials. Well, we have like a big one, but that's not what we really utilize. These ones I'm in partnership with 8 other jewels and diamonds in Canada. And so they're on a private that we do. And then we like, so the Thursday one, that's the new, like we'll rotate through the jewel teams, like who's finding the stories and stuff. And we record it on the Thursdays so that Mondays we just share the screen for the recording from Thursdays. So we're like getting 2 a week for only the work of 1. But I like the 2 a week because then what we do on the sip and share is we say, hey, like before it starts, get a pen, get a paper, anyone, I know you'll think of people and write those names down. And on Monday, we're having another one of these, and I want you to bring your friends to that one. And so then we'll drop sometimes like the, $400 or $500 thing as well. But it's like reminiscing before it starts, like write this down. You will have names come to your mind and have them come Monday. And so it's like such a good system having 2 a week, because then you just, they bring people and you plug them through that way.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Is it Chris? Do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. So a lot of people struggle with confidence when they're sharing the products and whatnot and the business opportunity. But when you spoke, it sounded so effortless. So I wonder where does your confidence come from? And is that something that we can, share with people, where that confidence can come from? So it makes it a lot easier for people to share.
I love this question. Okay, so like I said, I came in with anxiety. I had just reactivated my Facebook account. After I'd post, I would go to make sure I didn't lose a Facebook friend. No, this is actually me. I would be like, oh crap, did I lose a Facebook friend over that post? Like I was like, my anxiety was through the roof, you guys. I was like, did she ghost me? Like, this is how I came in. But I'm gonna say what kept me going. And like, obviously, like, as you practice more, you get more confident. But what helped me to push through that, find out their why. Because my why was a hell of a lot stronger than if somebody ghosted or if I lost a Facebook friend or it was stronger than that. And so unless their why is stronger than their fear, I wouldn't have went anywhere. And so I had a strong why, and I focused on the people that did support me and did love me. And so I think that's the biggest thing. So like can you even see it? Anyway, maybe not. I can't see it. Anyway, I have my vision board right there in my office. And every time I walk upstairs, I look at it, and I actually started looking through the pictures, and I've almost checked everything off. There's a couple left, but really powerful is like get to their why and find something unshakable that will go beyond the fear. So I just figured it out.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think, Amanda, I know I get asked that a lot, and I think you would say the same thing just from getting to know you, that the more action that you take, people typically want the confidence so that they can show up more. And when you show up more, it resonates with people, you get more result and you get more confident. Like when you're signing a lot of people like you and I do, you have a lot more people that are on the products that are getting results, and it builds your belief in the products. And it's just this big like train. Cause I used to like, how do people get there? Like I look in the top of Beachbody, like I understand I'm doing everything and perfectly consistent every day for years. Like I understand. But then when you're here, you realize it's just like that major, like the products did something for you, but again, it wasn't completely life-changing. You needed the business, you were going to run with it. For me, it was more the product side at first, but you just keep showing up and you just keep taking action. Like I love, we've talked about this summer when you're like, a lot of my team is kind of in summer mode and they're not doing much. And you're like, I'm not going to sit here and wait on my team. I believe in them and I love them, but I'm not going to let that be a deterrent from me reaching my goals. And I'm the same way. I love, like, I literally wrote that down because it was so good. When you said every month I show up, whether or not my team does, as soon as you start waiting for your team, that's when trouble happens. That was where I sat for 4.5 years. And it's not a good place to be. That was really powerful. I love the renter versus owner mindset. Like so good. Definitely going to borrow that. But I think the action, the confidence just comes, the more you are signing people, the more action you're taking, the more it's the complete opposite of what you think. The confidence actually comes from that. And I know I see that with you.
Yeah, you build confidence. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You build it through action. Like even like my first graphic was so bad. Again, I'm going to pull this stuff up and send it to Kim. It was so bad. And if I would have stopped there, I never would have, gotten better at it. So you have to be okay with failing forward. If you're not okay with doing it messy and not like Sally's done it, because Sally's done it for 5 years and you've done it for 5 months, you'll never get to where Sally is. The only difference between a silver and a diamond is they've had more no's and they've messed up more or, done it messier longer. That's really the only difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference. For sure. And then the other thing I want to touch on, I'm going to share the analogy I did on my Facebook because I thought it was really powerful, is just stay in your lane. Like as soon as you start comparing, like, oh my gosh, Amanda went gold in 6 weeks. Like, how do I speed this up? Or she did this in 12 months or whatever, right? Like she does the most perfect, whatever it is, right? I wish I could because so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. I've done this too. Like I think every human being has, or they're not human. And so I'm going to share a quick story about this, and I hope it really hits home for you today. A few years ago, so I have 4 kids. They all have ADHD. My house is crazy. My vehicle is crazy. It's messy, very dirty. So I just cleaned my vehicle. I was a day old, and I was having a friend pack up my vehicle, right? She was helping put something in the trunk, and she had her teenager daughter there, and she said, oh, whatever her daughter's name is, Karen, you know, like, sorry, it shouldn't be Karen. It's always Karen. Let me think of one. Camellia, you know, why can't we have a vehicle like Amanda does? Look how clean it is. And I literally laughed. I was like, you don't even know, like I just cleaned this a day ago. She didn't even know what she didn't know. So she saw a segment of my life and assumed this and then started comparing, right? And so, you know, how often does that happen with us in business, you know, or like, I liked what Kim said, before you write a post, don't scroll, because then you're going to try and do it like somebody else and people need you, right? So don't compare yourself to other people because you're seeing a tip of the iceberg and then you're comparing your whole life to a little crumble of cake that is not the real cake. Because you do not know what you don't know. Stay in your lane, focus on your goals, and you will get there. It's inevitable. But as soon as you start looking over here, you will crash, right? When you're driving, if you're not straight and you start going like this, you'll get in a car accident and you will crash and burn. So just stay straight, stay in your lane, keep consistent, and you'll get there because your journey's perfect. And there's a reason why everyone's journey is different, and your journey is exactly what somebody's going to need to hear one day because it was specific to you and you're meant to inspire who you're going to inspire.
So good, friend. I don't know why it's so easy to say that, right? It's not easy to do it. I lived there for 4.5 years as well. I would watch everybody, what they were doing. And then I would try to kind of make my post sound like them. And it wasn't fully me. It wasn't fully authentic. And I couldn't understand why I wasn't getting the right result. And I know there's people that look at me and they try to make their stuff sound like me now, but it's not how they speak. It's not their niche. It's not their, and it is. So I tell one of the girls on my team, one of my favorite lines is to never create or to never consume before you create. I try to consume the word of God in the morning first. And that is it, that is going in, that or personal development. And I will not take anything else in. And again, you don't have to create content every day. Like you can pick, I'm currently working on 2 days a week that I'm going to like create content because I just can't figure out how to fit it in every day or most days. Right. That has to be me intentionally thinking about, I actually get my content from messages with prospective clients. So I talk to people and I hear what are their sticking points? What are their problems? What are their hangups? And that's the stuff I use to drive my content. Right. And so that is really, and that's going to keep calling in your ideal client you're speaking to and connecting with your niche is when you do that. But it's really, you veer right off the lane when you start looking at what other people are doing and trying to make your stuff sound like them. It's so true.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. This was so good. Does anybody else have a question for Amanda before we hop off?
I'm just loving seeing Noelle there. With
Noelle's hair. Me too. I'm like, it looks so pretty.
I'm like, squirrel. I'm gonna give you the biggest.
I have to take advantage of having these girls to do this.
Oh, this is amazing.
Jealous.
All right, y'all. Any last minute? Last minute questions? No. Amanda, I'm so excited to speak to your team in early September. This was so good.
So excited for you to come. I love this. I love having like the community of Plexus, one Plexus, hearing from different jewels and different experiences. There's just so much value to it.
Yeah, it's